So first question that we'd like to hear from you is, as a child, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Wow. That's not a question I was expecting. I think I always knew I was going to do something with math. I don't have a good, funny answer to it. I think I always knew it'd be something math-based.
You weren't building baby sheds out of blocks?
I wasn't building baby sheds. It wasn't sheds. It wasn't that I fell in love with sheds. I think it was something more about, I knew I liked numbers and I always enjoyed math. And I knew I was always moving toward something so being in a finance business doesn't surprise me.
All right, very good. Well, this is kind of a follow-up to it. What was your favorite thing to do as a child?
Oh, man. Get in trouble. I mean,
a few people watching this can relate.
Everything I did seemed to end up with me getting into a little bit of trouble.
All right. Well, let's say, now this one takes a little different twist. Was there a particular life event you can think of that helped push you towards starting a business of your own? And how did this vision come about?
I think I always knew I wanted to run my own business. When my father passed away and Kathy and I were living in Atlanta trying to start a family, about that time was when I think you start, you lose a loved one. You're trying to figure out what do you want to do as a husband and wife. You're trying to figure out where do you want to raise your family. And I think I just came to the conclusion that I was going to do something. I wasn't sure what it was going to be. I think I started the business, I'm 50 this month, so I was 35. I think I thought I was a whole lot smarter and wiser than I was at 30. I thought knew it all, of course, and looking back, realized how naive and dumb I was, but I think that naivety let me go, okay, we're going back to Greenville to start a business.
I know from my interactions with you on that, how did the vision come about? You approached it with a plan.
Yeah.
With that intent.
Yeah.
Were there any times in the first couple of years or so when you did not think things would work out with RTO? And what kept you going if yes?
So this predates RTO. This actually goes back to Better Built. And I had a partner prior to Dustin and Jason, and is a great guy. We just didn't have the same vision and we didn't move at the same speed. And there was a time about a year in, I told my wife this probably years later, where we were sitting at church with my mom, and it's the first time in my life I've started hyperventilating because I was panicking because things weren't happening that I thought were going to be happening. We were not on the same page. And so there were multiple times during really that first year where it wasn't that I ever wanted to back out of what we were doing. It was more of, how am I going to get this done? And I think at that time, so much was riding on me as an individual versus having a team. Like we have a great team now, so it's not all on me. Back then, it was really just me and a few people that were manufacturing. Those moments, there were a few of those, especially one sitting in church where I literally thought I was going to pass out. I was freaking out so much. But it is what it is. You have a few sleepless nights. You keep showing up the next day, and things just happen.
Is it safe to say the pace that you were running was faster based on your tagline in your email?
Yeah. I think we're moving faster now than back then because we have more people. I think then I was moving as fast as I could, but there were times where you just couldn't go any faster. I couldn't sell more because we couldn't build more. And then when we could build more, you'd go sell it. And so that has constantly been a struggle for 15 years.
This next question's kind of specific. Maybe you can think of it in a couple of different ways, but it's just, do you remember your first RTO? And I'm interpreting to say probably the first customer that you financed.
Female, Linda, and I can't remember her last name. I could probably drive to her house in Marietta, South Carolina. Ernie Brown did the first deal at Brown's Feed and Seed. I remember going up there and getting the 3-part NCR contract and taking it. It was an 8x12. Wow. I know exactly where it was.
There you go.
Absolutely.
That's the answer. What's the strangest item or items you found inside a retrieved shed?
I never saw it, but we did a model, I think it was a Model T that came back out of one in Sumter. And the guy was on vacation, or was on an extended vacation or working out of town and had not made his payment, had not communicated with us, and we went out and picked it up and got it back. And one of the drivers, and this was before we had our BYS Sumter lot, and I remember getting the call going, they were scared to death, going, oh no, we have a car. And I'm thinking, okay, I have junk. No, we have a really top-notch, I think it was a Model T, sitting in this garage shed, and luckily it hadn't gotten messed up. And, what do we do? And I said, well, lock it up as much as you can, and let's just start dialing every number we can. And sure enough, the guy found out. He finally returned our call when he realized we had his car, and we gave it back to him, and it was all good. But that was probably the thing that I thought was really interesting, when that a guy would put a Model T and let us come get it without ever I guess he just didn't think we'd do it. The saddest one, though, and this is the saddest one, I hate to do on a 15th anniversary saddest, but this is really true. And this is where you feel bad for the people. We once retrieved a shed, and we found, I can't remember all the medals, but there was about 2 cases of World War II medals in a case. And we looked at them, and the first thing you think of is, are they fake, or are they whatever? So we started, but we're like, don't throw them away, obviously. Let's figure out what's going on. It turned out we had rented a shed to this kid. He must have been in his early 20s. He was on drugs. He was living in it. These were his grandfather's World War II medals. And he was so strung out and in just such bad shape that we finally found, I believe, his parents, and gave them back to them. But I think we sat on those for months in the office before we could find anybody. And finally found them, but it was one of those that really interesting, really sad, but again, you do the right thing. You stick them on the shelf, you keep trying to find them until you can find them, and you give them back.
That's neat. For those of you that are younger than Phil and I, a Model T is a really, really, really old Ford car. Just, you can put your Google phones away. Yeah. What's the most unusual story of a building disappearing or being damaged?
The damaged one, I'll go with the damaged one because it's still a great story. We had a driver, this was when we had our own trucks and trailers. We had a driver, and I've told this story many times. We had a driver named Chris. I can't remember Chris's last name. He didn't work with us for a long time. It was maybe his first week. And Dean Childress was our guy that handled all our logistics. And I'm standing outside of Dean's office, which was a shed at the time, outside of my shed, which was my office. And I'm talking to Dean. Dean, you got to hear this. And so he puts it on the speakerphone. There's some other drivers around. Chris is on his, I think, his first or second retrieval. It is a pig barn. The people had taken the doors off and had a pot-bellied pig living in it, and it was just, later we found out how dirty and filthy it was. And Chris is asking what to do. Well, Dean just can't help himself, so he tells him he's got to clear that pig out of there, and he's got to bring this shed back no matter what. So there's a fence attached to it. He's got to disconnect it. Long story short is he says, but leave us on the speakerphone. Leave me on the speakerphone so you're okay. And you can literally hear the pig squealing. And you hear Chris do it. Chris shows back up, give him benefit, with a shed. It is the nastiest shed I've ever seen in my life. It is. I can't believe he's brought this thing back, and he is covered in mud head to toe. And I thought, wow, that's commitment. That is commitment. That's one of the we've had a lot of really weird. We've had sad ones where we've had drug use and all that. We had a guy one time that was going to make a living being a producer, a music producer. So he had tricked it out with sound batting so that he could have, and he had his little studio in there and all that. And it didn't work, but it was interesting to see what he was trying to do.
Yeah, they all tell a story, I guess. How long does it take you to style your hair in the morning, and what hair products do you use?
The beauty is about 15 seconds and nothing. I'm just lucky. If you call this lucky. If you call this lucky. Some people may call it a mistake.
The beholder, we'll just let it go with that.
I call it lucky.
I don't know. That's a question. I might have a follow-up question about the products, but we'll go from there.
That's okay.
What's the longest you've ever had your hair? And have you ever dyed your hair?
I've never dyed my hair. I have thought about having the gray hidden, but my wife told me I was a nut. But you got to ask your wife. You think I should, and luckily I have a wife that said, nope, that'd be stupid. The longest I had it was probably back when I was I have an older brother who's 4 years older, so I did a lot of things he did, emulated him for a while. And I was probably around 10, 11, 12, and I'm not going to say it was a mullet. I'm not calling it a mullet. I had what I called wings. My daughter's now called the butt. What do they call it? The butt something, where you spit your head down to it, where your hair swings back. So it wasn't my best moment.
No thoughtful ponytails.
No, never got to the ponytail. I think my dad wouldn't have handled that very well.
This one, it all falls under your guidance. We might could ask other people this, but this is a unique one. What days does Jill work?
To this day, I could not tell you Jill Harbin's work schedule. I have no idea what days Jill works. That's a great question. I have often asked Jill what day she works. I am convinced she gives me a different answer every time I ask her, just to keep me confused.
Well, we'll all wonder if she's the one that actually asked the question just to see if you knew.
Yep, no, I do not.
All right, so taking a different vein, if you could have any one superpower, which one would you choose?
Wow, that's a dangerous one. So my first inclination is flight. Oh yeah, man, that'd be awesome. In a deeper realm, yeah, I'll go with flight. What the hell? I mean, wouldn't you like to fly? I mean, there's a lot of things I like to be able to do. Visibility, I don't want to read people's minds. That's my first thought was I love to be able to read people's minds. I don't want to read anybody's mind.
No.
I absolutely do not want to know.
Go fast, go high.
That's exactly, yeah. I mean, how could he, that'd be awesome.
All right. So you heard it, folks. Flying. All right, this one. When did you first feel like RTO National had made it?
I haven't. I really haven't. Only because we have so many talented people that I sit in a room with everybody and I go, we have the capability to be more. Whatever more means. I don't know if more means bigger, or more means more profitable, more means the ability to give back to people more. I don't know what that means. I just look around the room and go, we have a lot of really talented people. We are a way more talented pool of people than anybody in our specific industry. There's no reason we should not be more something. Depends on how you define success, but there's no reason we couldn't be better. So I don't sit back and I have often stated the day I know I have made it is when I never have to walk into a Home Depot ever again. I can pay people to go do that. I have not made it because I went and bought a light switch the other day.
There you go. That's it. Opportunity still abounds.
Yep.
When it comes to the company, what are you most proud of?
So obviously the people. That's just hands down. I mean, when I see people, and I could start naming names, and we'd end up taking another 20 or 30 minutes for me to go through and name names of people. So the people is definitely what I'm most proud of. The moments that I'm most proud, and so I won't say that's an easy one, but that's kind of one where you go, the people, that's sort of a natural one. Because you're not really, I'm proud of our brand, but the brand comes back to it's because I'm proud of the people we have there.
Right.
Where I'm most proud in situations is when I either see us do something really good where people are expecting us to tack differently. So I don't get to see it as much because I don't interact with the customer, but a great example would be when we were manufacturers and a customer would call in complaining about the floor was warped and they were ready for a fight. And we would just take the fight away and go, hey, wait a minute, if we've messed up your floor, we just need to come fix it. Not your fault, it's our fault. I was always proud of those moments because so many companies don't do that. They look for the fight or they look to blame somebody else.
Sure.
The other one is when I'm most proud is when I see people, and I don't mean this in any way negative, when I see people do what I think is beyond what they thought they could do. Not what I thought they could do, but I see people sit back and go, they're being successful, they're being stretched, and they're performing. And that's where that's really at the end of the day where I get the most proud or the most enjoyment is when I see someone who's never had a role maybe quite like they're doing now, and they're getting better and better at it. And they're feeling more comfortable about it. And you can feel it. You can feel they're walking around a little more confident, and you can see their confidence build. That is just gold. I mean, there's nothing better than that.
Get them all to fly.
Yeah, it's just... Some people are scared of heights.
That's true. If you could change one thing about the company, what would that be? The speed at which things get done. There are things the speed at which we move. And it's not because we have people that don't want to move fast. For example, right now, in multiple parts of the business, give you a great example. Anthony joined in dealer support a little over a year ago. He's right at his year anniversary, I think. I think he and I both agree it's taken about a year for him to have a team working the way he wants that team to work. Not that there were ever bad people or not that people were purposefully not trying to do what's right. It just took time for him to get in, learn the business, learn his team,
his team learn him, make some adjustments to workflow, make some adjustments to how much they have to do. And today, he's got a fantastic team down there. But it took a year.
Right.
That's frustrating because it wasn't anything that anyone was doing wrong. It just sometimes takes time to get it. That's probably the most, excuse me, that's the part where you go, God, I wish we were moving faster. But
right.
Some of that you can control and some of it you can't.
What's the biggest vulnerability of the company?
It used to be me, because as an owner-operator, it used to be that, if I got hit by a bus, what in the world was going to happen? We had enough people to kind of do things. Once Kim Bars had joined, we've always had good people. So it wasn't, everything would just, nobody would show up the next day. But really, how do you build a sustainable company? So for a long time, it was me. I truly believe we're beyond me now, which is fantastic. And you've heard me say that multiple times.
Sure.
If it keeps being about me, we're in trouble. It does not need to be about me. So that has been, I think that vulnerability has been mitigated. I think our biggest vulnerability is getting stagnant. And I think the biggest miss as a company we keep making, and I take this as I really keep making, is not looking far enough down the road and pushing us to get a little further. I think a lot of people would I just think that's crazy, Phil. That sounds, they feel like I'm doing that all the time. But sometimes it's missing opportunities because we weren't willing to, we were saving a dime and we missed a buck.
Right.
And I think that's the hard one when you grow up as an entrepreneur. You're constantly trying to save those dimes and pennies and nickels because you don't have the money. And then as you start making the money, you're very conscious about protecting that money and not getting yourself into trouble. And then you get to a stage which we're getting kind of close to where you need to really be investing aggressively. And that's a different mindset. And sometimes that can be hard to adjust to for me, and then for me to turn around to someone who's used to hearing me nitpick over pennies and dimes and nickels, and now I'm pushing to go grow and spend money. And that can be a conflicting and confusing information for people to hear. So it's
trade-off with that risk aversion.
It's a big trade-off.
Are there any immediate plans to purchase another building or relocate our home office?
So for anyone who's ever asked me that question and we discussed it, I hate to move. I hate to move. It's time-consuming. It's a whole lot of stuff. Immediate being the next 6 to 12 months, no. Immediate being the next 24 months, yes. We have to move. There's just no question we have. For all kinds of, we don't have parking. It's not a good environment. It's a great environment. I think people kind of like it. But after a while, that kind of wears off. And people are like, you know what? I'd really like to have more professional bathrooms, something simple like that. Upstairs, I know they want an ice maker. That's not too much to ask. We'll have to move. Our problem is I don't want to move and do it, I'll go ahead and say it, half-ass. I don't want to make a little baby step. I want to do it and do it right and do it for the long term. And so we're having to be very cautious. We're at the top of a market. Everything in Greenville is unbelievably priced right now, out of the roof. Construction costs are, I won't say twice what they should be, but they're really high right now. So we're sort of trying to stay as long as we can until we find the right opportunity. I desperately think we need to move, and I have a very clear vision of what I want it to look like when we move, if we can do it.
You have to get a walking trail so I still get my steps in going up and down the stairs.
I completely agree.
All right. As the company grows, do you have a plan to maintain the same culture the company has had since the beginning?
Yeah, you try. I had to be careful. The best plan is to hire good people. So if you can hire people that believe in your culture and you continue to, as a company, act with that culture. So if we believe in that and we continue to show that and we act that, we reward people that follow it. We don't promote and reward people that do not follow it. That'll take care of itself. That's the number one thing. I think there are other things around training and development that Poonam's working on. I think there's other things that we'll try to do as we get a little more infrastructure on the administrative side for somebody just to have time. There are some simple things that we need to be doing better. At the end of the day, it's going to be about the people, though. We can hand out shirts, we can have slogans, we can do all that, and everybody's worked for those companies. If we're not making the right decisions with our customers and our dealers, and we're not treating people with our core values, none of that will matter. So the big thing is we got to keep hiring people. The second thing is we just have to keep preaching it, and when it doesn't work, we have to realize it's not working and try to change the focus and get everybody back on the same page. That's the number one thing. And it will drift. We'll make bad decisions. We'll do all that. But every now and then you have to step back and go, wait a minute, is it drifting too far? Do we need to get everybody back on the same page?
Right. All right. Where do you see RTO in 5 years? And then the follow-up is another 15.
You and I were just at lunch talking about this, and when I was back in my day in private equity and we were buying companies, we always had a 5-year plan. You had your 5-year plan, and everybody talked about they'd present their 5-year business plan. I couldn't project 5 years out to save my life. I'm good luck getting 12 to 18 months out. So I have a really hard time. I've always believed in, you kind of have a vision of where you're trying to get to. So you have that vision and kind of the direction. You set your plan of what you're trying to do, and then you just go execute on your plan, and things tend to take care of itself. As we get through 2019 and we start looking at 2020, if we hit 2019 goals, we'll start to get big enough, though, where we'll really have to do a little bit better strategic planning. So far, we've always been small enough that we can be more tactical in how we do it. We sort of know our vision of where we're going, and then it's just a matter of executing on that. I think as we get a little bit bigger, we'll have to take more time to have a strategic. I don't know where we're going to be in 5 years. We won't be in that building. We'll be bigger than we are today. I have no doubt about that. If we're doing other products besides sheds, I don't know.
Will we have great hair?
I will have. Now, I don't know. I have 2 daughters, one that just became a teenager a few months ago. I don't know if I will have hair much longer.
All right.
It is already happening, Richard.
Well, that's certainly an admirable answer. The flexibility brings a lot to the company. So that's a great thing. Well, that's the first series of questions. So from here on, we'll move in and see what the next batch holds.
Let's do speed. Let's do lightning round.
Lightning round. So in this round, we're going to hold it to what? 3 to 5 word answers tops.
Perfect.
And we'll go through them just real quick. What does success look like for you?
Okay, let's just be honest. Some good money.
That's straight up. We got it. What would your employees say are the top 2 reasons they enjoy working for you?
My hair and my smile.
There we go. What do you want for the employees of this company?
More money.
That's it. What's the craziest story you have about a dealer? That one's hard to do in one sentence.
I'm going to pass on that one because the answer would be a couple of just names, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to call anybody out like that.
How do you spend your day?
Working.
That I can attest to, and that does not matter what day of the week it is. It ends in Y.
Yep.
How can I explore opportunities in other RTO National departments? What if I'm a great fit for a different role? How do I know if I've even been interested? How do I know if I'm even interested? So I think as we expand, if I interpret the question, there's so much new stuff. How would I know about some of these other roles and if they'd be a fit for me?
Okay, I'm going to keep the lightning round quick. Raise your hand.
That's it. Tell your manager. Can we start posting job opportunities internally for 5 days prior to going outside the company?
Working on it. Let me say this. I'm going to expand that because I think this is really important for people to hear. There are times when we hire specifically outside of the company. And there are very specific reasons we may decide to do that. It's an expertise that we just don't feel like that anyone in our, and we have everybody's resumes and everybody's background. So it's not like we just randomly go, we don't want to do it. But we may say there's a role that we want to fill, and we want to fill that with someone who has a very specific background. And we know no one in our organization has that background.
Right. Okay. What question do you think we need to be asking that we haven't asked already? There's some good interviewers in this group. What do you do when you're not at work?
Think about work. Think about work. Yes, sorry, honey. Sorry, kids. I enjoy it that much. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's a good way. When did the first RTO deal pay in full, and what was the length of the term in months? Did the customer pay off early or go full term?
36 months, and I don't remember.
There you go. What dealer manufacturer has been using RTO National the longest?
Sandra at 521 Hardware will be close on that list, and that's down near the beach. That's the first one that pops out for, she's an old Better Built storage dealer. That might be the oldest. Not sure, that might be. She'd be close.
All right. What is the single biggest change Phil has seen since day one until now in the industry overall? Doesn't have to be specific to lending.
In the shed industry, if you look at the shed industry, it's been a drastic increase in the quality of the product. The product today is drastically better than the product 10, 15 years ago. The shed is just better. And the people that aren't making those changes, we're absolutely seeing struggle, without a doubt.
All right. Well, that wraps up Questions with Phil for the 15th anniversary. As always, we look forward to chatting with you all again soon.
Thank you.